Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video, and today we've got a comparison. This is going to be a comparison between these two knives, the Reate Epoch and the Reate Torrent. Both of these are great knives. There's a lot to love about both of them, but a number of you have been asking me which one is better, and so I wanted to finally address that in this video. Especially want to shout out here to Dr. Frunky. If you're not subscribed to him, by the way, you might want to go and check out his channel. He tends to have slightly higher end taste than I do, so if you're into that, I think you'll really like his channel. Anyway, but he especially has mentioned a couple times, that I should compare these two knives, and so wanted to go ahead and get that done. Now, before I do, I just want to mention I do have a Facebook group or page, whichever one it is, called Sharp Stuff, and that's just there so that number one, you could make recommendations like this, like, hey Kevin, what's with this, or can you do this comparison, or here's a video idea. You're more than welcome to use the Facebook page for that. I also try to share stuff that I find from time to time. Now, really the primary purpose of it is because of some of the crazy stuff that YouTube has done, and should the channel just somehow vanish into the neither world at some point, I'll be able to go on there and at least say to those of you who follow me there, hey, this is what happened, this is where I am, I decided to run away and join the circus, or whatever the case may be. And so you may want to go over there and check it out. And I try to share some fun stuff, and you guys are also welcome to share stuff there as well that's knife related and interesting to you. So let's go ahead and get into this comparison. I only brought up the Facebook page because this is something that, this video is driven by viewer and social media requests, and so wanted to say, hey, there's another way to do that over on the Facebook page. Let's go ahead and get into our comparison with these by first saying I absolutely love both of these knives. Both of them give me a lot of joy. These are two knives that it's not uncommon for me to get home from work and just go and take off the shelf and flip and take a couple pictures for Instagram and do some light cutting tasks with, just because they're a joy to use. They really are. If you enjoy attention to detail and exceptional quality and engineering, both of these knives are really going to be appealing to you. Okay, now we're going to start off with size and weight the way we always do, and we'll kind of work through this the way we would in a review, but instead of doing a review on each of these components, we'll kind of compare and contrast the two different models. So size and weight, beginning with the Epoch for no good reason other than I wrote it down first. The weight on this guy is 5.28 ounces, so it's not a super lightweight knife. It is milled out a little, you can kind of see there, to save some weight, but it's not super lightweight. The cutting edge is quite nice, the blade length is quite nice at 3 11/16, which is really good for an 8 3/8 inch knife overall, and for a handle that's only 4 11/16, that's a really good blade to handle ratio. On the other hand, the Torrent here is a heftier, 5.9 ounces, 8.5 inches, so just a teeny bit bigger there. 3 5/8 inches on the blade, and 4 15/16 on the handle. So you can see the difference in size there is mostly coming from the handle. In fact, the blades, if I put them close together, are the Torrent is actually a little bit shorter, and certainly it's a little bit shorter in terms of cutting edge because of this slight choil here. And by the way, I know this is an ergonomic question, but I find I can get a finger in there and use this as a choil without too much difficulty, although I rarely do it. So in terms of size and weight and how much you have to carry and how much utility you get for what you're carrying, I've got to say the Epoch definitely pulls ahead in this category. It's lighter, it's smaller, it's less noticeable in pocket, and yet you're actually getting more cutting edge, not less. So the Torrent really does well in terms of how much blade you're getting, how much utility you're getting for a fairly compact package. And so I've got to say, when it comes to size, weight, and ease of carry, the Epoch definitely pulls a little bit ahead of the Torrent there. Moving on to the blade, we have this gorgeous CTS 204P blade with that DLC coating that is nicely done so that you can see the grind lines on that blade. Absolutely gorgeous. Really love the way that looks. The blade, the cutting edge here is 3 3/16, which is really nice. You know, you've got a lot of edge there. The finish, of course, on this one is DLC, but there are a lot of versions of this out there that are not, okay? So just kind of be aware of that. If you're looking at this going, I'm not that crazy about the DLC, just be aware that, you know, it is available in a blade that's gonna look a little more like this one. One thing I do want to point out here, because this was a surprise to me, the Epoch, although it's not thick, is a little thicker behind the edge than the Torrent. And I would not have thought that. This one's a little bit heavier built in general. But this guy is 22 thousandths or 0.22 thousandths behind the edge, and the other one is 29 thousandths behind the edge. So a bit of a difference there. Now, not crazy. By the way, just so you kind of have an idea here, the edge geometry is not the only thing that matters in terms of slicing. Everyone comments how nicely the Para 2 slices, but it's thicker behind the edge than both of those, okay? I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but just so you kind of know that. And by the way, both of these are about 160 thousandths thick on the blade stock itself, all right? Of course, the Torrent is M390, which is a great steel, and I absolutely love the way this guy is finished with the stonewash on the flats and then the satin on the on the bevels there. Slightly shorter cutting edge on this guy at 3.5 inches. And that's, you know, again, you're losing a little bit because of that choil. So not the end of the world, but there are some differences there. Now, you know, if you put these, let's see here. I'll try to put these close together so you can get a good look at what I'm talking about here and see the difference in that cutting edge. There we go. And then also see the difference in the grind height. Okay, so the grind height is higher. There we go. I got to catch the light just right so you can see this properly. There you go. So the grind height is actually higher on the Torrent, which actually is you know, that's actually somewhat important because it means you have just a more gentle slope that you're dealing with when you're cutting through material, and it does make a little bit of a difference, although very little bit of a difference in terms of performance. All right, so just wanted to point that out to you. So those are the two blades, and I've got to say I do like the Torrent blade just a little bit more because of that slightly thinner grind. It does perform just, I mean, marginally better, and it truly is marginally. You know, in terms of a buying decision, I don't think that should really be the thing that really makes up your mind, but it is there. So the blade has to go just a little bit toward the Torrent, although the other advantage I ought to mention about the Epoch is you are getting a little more cutting edge. All right, how about lockup and deployment? Well, both of these are titanium frame locks with dual row ceramic bearings. Both of them are flipper only deployment. Okay, both of them have a wonderful detent. Both of them feel absolutely perfect when you flip them. They do feel a little bit different. The geometry is slightly different, and I will say this flipper is actually a little bit more comfortable because it does something that I always complain about, and that is it gives me an actual area that is angled in the way that I want to put my finger on the flipper. This guy does sort of that horn-shaped flipper, which almost forces you to do a light switch type motion. Now, it's very comfortable and it's not digging into my finger or anything like that. The detent is maybe, I don't know, they're so close that it's hard to call. The detent is probably a little bit stiffer on the Torrent. Both of these are smooth as silk. They just, you know, they just feel amazing when you flip them. So the action on both of these is really amazing. The Torrent I do like just a teeny bit better, mostly because of this slightly stiffer detent and because the flipper to me feels a little more well thought out. You know, someone actually said, hey, what direction are we going to push on this? And let's make sure that there's a way to push on it comfortably in the way that we want to get the knife to deploy. So I'm going to give the edge just barely to the Torrent on that aspect as well. Otherwise, again, they are so close to equal that it's, you know, we're talking about, you know, differences of degrees here. Okay. Finally, talk about the handle, and this is where we're going to see a little bit of a bigger difference. Of course, the main thing that stands out is the Mokutai inlay, which you're not getting on the Torrent. So if you are a knife collector and you just love everything with Mokutai, maybe that's a no-brainer for you. You've got to go with the Epoch, but maybe that's not the only thing you consider. So let's do some comparison. Okay, so we've got both our backspacer construction, both have these nicely milled clips. The Epoch, both of them have this nicely milled G10. It's comfortable in hand. Okay, it's attractive. I do like the way they've left those milling lines on the Torrent. There's a few Reates that do this, and I really, really like it. I think it definitely adds to the tactile quality of the knife and adds a bit of detail and a feature that to me is very attractive. We do have blue hardware here on the Reate and just silver on or blue hardware on the Torrent and just silver on the Epoch, although there are versions of the Epoch available that have blue hardware. So even that's a pretty tough thing to measure. I will say there's one significant difference here, and we're kind of talking about aesthetics here a little. There are a bunch of versions of this knife available, okay? Tons of different options. So lots of different colors, even different hardware colors, and different blade color. So you definitely have a little more personal, specificity available with the Epoch over the Torrent. All right, so that's definitely something to be considered. Now, in terms of just overall ergonomics, both are pretty good, but I actually appreciate the slightly larger handle on the Torrent a bit more. Not only that, but I do like the feel of those milling lines being left in the handle. Both are very, very comfortable. The Torrent is just a little more hand-filling and therefore just a little more confidence-inspiring to me. All right, so again, these are so close and both of them are absolutely spectacular. And so really a lot of this, as I've said, comes down to personal preference, and probably a lot of you watching will feel differently than I do about this. So overall, or in conclusion, I guess, both of these are exceptional knives. The quality, the fit and finish, are to the point that you're not going to experience this, outside of these kind of high-end production knives, maybe some customs. And in fact, these could be better. You could buy a custom knife that doesn't have action and fit and finish that's as dialed in as these guys do. Okay, now I'm not saying, there are tons of great customs today. I'm carrying my F3. And again, and I would say, yeah, this is every bit there in terms of fit and finish and quality and all of that. But Dave Curtis has been doing this for a while and generally speaking knows what he's doing. Sorry, Nico. Now let's get back to these two knives. In terms of which one I would pick and which one is the most well suited to my preferences and my type of use, I definitely lean toward the Torrent. It's a little heavier duty, a little more hand filling. It's something I feel like I could do a little bit harder work with and get away with it, although I do kind of baby both of these knives. To me, the Torrent is just a teeny bit better overall, most especially, and guys, this is a big deal. When I get this in my hand, okay, that makes a big difference. How a knife feels tactilely and just how you feel like, what you feel like you can get done by using it, that makes a huge difference. And I definitely feel like the Torrent in my hand is a little more, just a little more confidence inspiring, a little more comfortable, and therefore subconsciously feels just a little more useful. So there you go, guys. I do like the Torrent a little bit better, although I do think both of these are gorgeous, wonderful knives, and I would highly recommend either one. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will talk to you soon.